What's up, cats and kittens? And shout out to all my cerebralites. It is she, the Cerebral Diva, and she is back with another episode of Reality, and that's TEA because I give it to you scalding hot. So grab your cups, grab your saucers, gather round, and let's all partake in this libation of Real Housewives of Atlanta tea. Alright, Season 12, Episode 2. First of all, if you missed this episode, you didn't miss a whole lot. It was a complete snooze fest in my opinion, but nevertheless there were a couple of gems that came out of this episode, so let's dive right in and talk about those. The first thing that came up that I found interesting was that by now we all know that Kenya and her husband Mark Daly are having a parting of the ways. Kenya seems to want to reconcile, but Mark seems like he's sort of on the fence about it, or just really not that invested anymore. And last night's episode gave us a glimpse into the pathology that sort of led to this breakup. Now, I'm not sure if it's Bravo creating a narrative or if this is truly indicative of who Mark is as a person, but on the episode last night, he came across very controlling. There was a scene where Kenya had her daughter, and you know, Kenya loves her puppies, her doggies, and not being a huge dog lover myself, I can relate to Mark because Mark was not a fan of the dogs, you know, like kissing and licking on Brooklyn. And Kenya doesn't see them as necessarily pets. Kenya sees her dogs as like children. So her and Mark are not of the same ilk in that particular respect. So he doesn't necessarily want the dogs to be in close proximity to Brooklyn. And I have to say, I kind of side with Mark in this particular instance. Keep the dogs away from my baby. I don't, no, just no. And I know that there are a lot of dog lovers out there who would disagree, but that's just how I feel about it. So we see Mark, being really critical of Kenya's mothering. He talks about Brooklyn's hair at one point and says she looks like a boy. And you can tell that Kenya feels really defeated and belittled and berated by some of the things that Mark is saying. Now, again, when we watch the episode, we're only seeing maybe a couple of seconds of what could have been an hour-long conversation. And so maybe he slighted her a couple of times, and maybe she slighted him in return, and Bravo just edited that portion of it out. I don't know, I can't say. But based on the narrative that's being created, it really seemed to vilify Mark last night and made Kenya out to be sort of this emotionally abused woman, which isn't necessarily something I see Kenya being. So in addition to that, we also saw a glimpse into Porsha and Dennis's relationship. Now, Porsha and Dennis, again, we all know that the two of them are on the outs as well. I'm not sure if they are currently, but at least at the point of filming, they were on the outs. So Porsha and Dennis have this little moment where they basically have a one-night stand. He comes over, spends the night, and because he spent the night with her, in his mind, things are back together. But in Porsha's mind, there are still some pieces to the puzzle that are missing, and those pieces are essentially what really happened. How much of what is being said is true. So the two of them embark on this journey of therapy with Dr. Sherry. And we don't really get to see inside of the therapy session, which I really appreciate it, because I think that I don't think that Dennis or Porsha could have been completely authentic if cameras were there. So what we see is the aftermath of the therapy session. And the aftermath is Porsha going into her truck and just bawling because Dennis ultimately confessed to her that he did cheat on her while she was pregnant. So after he made the confession, and this is a revelation that Porsha was really pushing for. It's one of those cases of be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. You ask for the truth, but in the words of Jack Nicholson, you can't handle the truth. Dennis gave you the truth, right? And even before, see, this is why, on one hand, I feel really sorry for Porsha as a woman, but on the other hand, I feel like all of the signs were there and you ignored them. Like, people were talking, Candy was warning you, there had to be a part of you that knew that this could go left, right? And it's like the same thing. There's so many parallels to Kenya's relationship and Porsha's relationship, right? They say only fools rush in. And to me, both of them were very foolish. I think both Kenya and both Porsha, they were victims of their biological clocks. Both of them knew that they had a very narrow window in terms of being able to carry children, and so I think that because of that, they were on this accelerated path to find a man, have a baby, create this nuclear family, and live happily ever after. The problem is that neither of them look before they leave. I think that for both Porsha and Kenya, winning was the most important, right? They needed to have this family, have this perfect man, and have this idealized version of a relationship so they could point to everyone else and say, ha 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 ha, I won. When in actuality, you didn't win. I mean, you got the child, and if that was the ultimate goal, then congratulations on having a baby. But having a baby and being a single mother isn't exactly a housewife, for lack of a better term. So, anyhow, Porsha is crying. Porsha is the world's worst crier, by the way. I'm telling you, every time Porsha starts crying, I'm trying to figure out, is she hitting a blunt or is she actually crying? Because she sounds like she's like, I'm like, what is that? And it's almost like she's forcing the tears. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but the crying that she does on the show just does not come across as very genuine. That's just me. So she's crying, talking to her sister, confessing that she mushed Dennis in the face when he told her that he had cheated on her, and and that she just didn't know what the future held for the two of them. This is what I say to that, right? I'm not a proponent for cheating. I'm not a proponent for forgiving cheating. But at this point, it is what it is. You need to sit down and have a authentic relationship with this man. Who are we and what are we doing? Right? Because the reality is, who Dennis is who he will be. I know Charlamagne's out there on this whole black men don't cheat campaign, but that is an entire lie. They do, and they cheat quite often. And I know he tries to make the distinction between a black man and a black boy, but grown men, if you're over 18, you're a man by the law. So they're not going to take you to juvenile jail just because you're still acting like a boy. So when you reach a certain age, you have to become accountable for your actions. And so I think that Porsha and Dennis need to just have a open relationship. I think a lot of people need to have open relationships, if I'm being completely frank, because people wind up buying into these societal normatives where, you find a husband, you create, or a wife, you create a family, you do picnics, you go on vacations, and, and wait to die, essentially. And that pathway may not be the true pathway for most people, but because it's been so deeply ingrained on us, deeply ingrained into our pathologies, that this is the way that we live, this is what success looks like, that any deviation from that, we don't know how to cope with. Cheating at the end of the day, while I don't agree with it, because it's not the cheating for me that's the issue, it's the lying. If you want to sleep with other people, let's sit down and have that conversation. Because what I want from you is a choice, whether or not I want to move forward with this. Because, if you crave something outside of me, I think we would all be lying. Every last one of us who's been in relationships to say that we've been in relationships and we have never had lustful thoughts about someone outside of that relationship. That is factual. And I know people say, oh, I've never looked at anyone but my husband. You're lying. We all have. Now, whether you choose to act on that is a completely different story. You may have never acted on that, but when you get married, you don't suddenly become blind. You don't suddenly become devoid of hormones. It doesn't happen. And so I think the conversation that needs to be had is like, what does our relationship look like? How do we wipe the slate clean, create a new ideal for our relationship that makes us both feel valued, both feel appreciated, and where we both get to have some of what we want, because no one at the end of the day gets to have everything that they want. So I think that for me, I know Porsha is sexually fluid, so maybe her being, having this open relationship, I think even Nene and Greg were discussing an open relationship. My question, who would want Nene or Greg? You're gonna have an open relationship with and no one wants to be open to it. So I think that Porsha and Dennis should both just look. This is what it is. We're together. This is a business relationship. This is a partnership. We love each other. We value each other enough to be honest with each other, to either do it together or be honest about doing it apart. So that's that. Now, speaking of being sexually fluid, Noelle, Cynthia's daughter, is returning home from college, and she and Cynthia are, having a moment where Cynthia's picking her up, I believe, and Cynthia's just asking her about school, how's everything going, are you dating? And Noelle's like, yeah, I'm dating, but I like both boys and girls. This was a shocker for me. I did not see this one coming. But I love that Noelle felt comfortable enough with her moment. I'm sorry, comfortable enough in that moment to be completely honest with her mother and not lie. It's a testament to Cynthia's parenting and the relationship that they share, that she just has a no holds bar, like, this is who I am. And Cynthia's response to it, you can tell she was a little taken aback and didn't quite know how to process it. And I'm not sure if that was just basically because the cameras were on and she didn't quite want the rest of the world to be privy to this information. But she circles back around and just basically says, look, at the end of the day, whether it's a boy or a girl, we just want you to be happy. We want someone who values you and appreciates you. And that's really what it comes down to. If the person loves your child, I think that should be the most important thing. So I thought that was really great to see them have that bonding moment. I'm trying to think of what else happened. They're planning a trip to Pride. Okay, and Cynthia. Let me get back to Eva and Kenya. So Eva and Kenya are at odds over the probably the most trivial thing that I've ever seen in Real Housewives history, and that's the fact that Eva didn't bring her kids to Kenya's party. So Kenya's offended. She's confronting Cynthia and saying some, like, basically pulling a Nene on Cynthia, telling Cynthia that, look, if you're my friend, you should be speaking up and defending me. Like, come on now. I sometimes I feel so sorry for for Cynthia, but I love Cynthia in this season. Season 12, Cynthia has found her cojones. Cynthia is biting back, clapping back, snapping back, whatever back you want. Cynthia has it for you. So she and Kenya are in this store and they're buying some candles and sage, so she can cast away Eva's evil, evil spirits. And they have a conversation just about the party and about Eva not wanting to bring her kids, and um, King is being very vociferous and confrontational, and really painting Cynthia into a corner in terms of defending her against Eva. And Cynthia's like, look, no, it's not that serious. It's her, they're her kids. If that's what she chooses to do, that's what she chooses to do. And then one of the confessionals, Kenya said something in regards to, I hope Cynthia doesn't choose her men like she chooses her friends. And I just thought, if that's not the pot calling kettle black, hopefully that confessional was taped before all the information or news came out with Mark Daly, because we've seen Kenya's choice in men. And like, if you're gonna call, there was Walter who didn't want you. There was the crazy personal trainer who was busting out windows and, just completely erratic. And now there's Mark, who once again is like kicking you to the curb. But you're gonna scrutinize someone else's choices in man, Kenya? Stop. And I love Kenya. Like, Kenya is probably my favorite housewife. But having said that, that doesn't mean that I can't be objective and call a spade a spade. And in this particular case, I think Kenya was dead wrong. Like, if Cynthia is truly your friend, that's not very friendly behavior, in my personal opinion. Um, I'm trying to think if I'm missing anything else that happened during this episode. I can't think of anything else. Shamia stopped over to see Porsha. Candy was just sort of Candy, Cynthia, and Porsha had a moment. It's That's a really quick point that I want to make. It's really cool to see how far Candy and Porsha have come, in terms of where they were a few years back. I just did not see this reconciliation happening to this degree. It's almost at this point like I forget it even happened because they're so cool with each other. So I think that shows growth on the part of both ladies, and Portia in particular. Right, when I listen to Portia, Portia has gone from probably the dumbest to the smartest housewife, in my opinion. Maybe I wouldn't want to cheat off her test necessarily, but in terms of the way she's moving out here, I think Portia has grown tremendously. It's great to see how much she's evolved as a woman, because a couple of years back I was worried sis wouldn't she wouldn't make it very far. So shout out to Porsha. Anyhow, you guys, that's it for this episode. If you haven't checked out the Real Housewives of Atlanta, season 12 episode 2 is one of the ones that you can skip in my personal opinion. I'm excited for episode 3. The girls are going to Pride. Nene is going to be returning, so this should be interesting as we get to see this tension between Nene and Kenya build back up. All right, as always in closing, remember to live better, love harder, and think smarter. It is me, the Cerebral Diva. Oh, also remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share if you care. And remember, I do this for fun, not for a living. I'll talk to you guys again soon. Have a great day.